Hey guys, it's Evan Pardue with Underhill Bonsai, and welcome back to another YouTube video about how to care for and create bonsai. Thank you guys so much for commenting and asking questions on our previous videos. I love to go back and talk about those. So we had a question about creating a bald cypress forest, and that was a deciduous, our winter care, our 104 video. And the question was, is making a flat top bald cypress forest different from making a typical bonsai forest? And if I can do a demonstration on what that looks like. I would love to do a forest planting video for you guys. That will take place in the springtime though, when we normally would repot our bald cypresses. And so the question is yes and no, depending on how many trees you're using, how far away your design is supposed to look, and also to what varying degree of flat top are we talking about. So let me break down that a little bit. Is how many trees is going to make a huge difference, because the more trees you add, the less details you can add in a bonsai forest. So if you've got, let's say one of the prime numbers is like 7. You have 7 trees in your forest. It's a good solid number. You can have bigger trees and something not so gigantic. We would say, you know, this would be your biggest tree, number 1. This guy's a good example of that. And then all your other trees have to be smaller than him. So you could put detail in this, but when we're talking about forests that have numbers over 50, 60, you know, those do exist and they're not common. But let's narrow it down a little bit more. Let's say you have like 20 to 30. Then more trees you got, the more scale. Your forest has to either be gigantic, or if it's still trying to be within that smaller kind of premise, you're going to lose more detail. So you have to kind of consider that before you build a forest. And then if it's going to go for how far away are you standing, that's something that might sound a little odd to some people. But bonsai is a forced perspective. So the reason why we like big bases and then tapering into the smaller tops is because we want the viewer to believe that they're standing underneath it and foreshortening that perspective of the tree. So if you're standing close to the forest, all of your trees should be fat and short, and so you're in it. But if you see the trees and they're tall and skinny from far away, let's say you're on the highway and you see a bunch of bald cypresses in the distance, then you have tall, skinny trees. So you have to consider that design concept as well. And then my third one is that how old, and it sounds weird because we always want ancient in bonsai, but bald cypresses have varying degrees of environmental impacts. And when it comes to Louisiana, we have old growth forests, which feature a few ancient, you know, couple thousand-year-old trees and then lots of younger ones around them. And then we have like middle of the line old forests where there's a bunch of trees that are all very similar in trunk and their tops make one big giant flat top unit together. So there's so many different ways to approach this design. And yes, we're gonna have to build some stuff. I know that, just for quick reference so I can wrap up on this topic, me and Bill Butler of Bill's Bayou, I know he's another YouTuber you guys can go check out. I think he uploaded the video of me and him making a flat top forest together. Go look that up. I might have to see if it's somewhere. I might have to link it in that comment. But thank you for that question. And then there was another question, just real quick. When do we repot them? When do we repot bald cypress? Sorry, I was talking really fast. Is in the springtime, right whenever we got all the leaf drop. We look at the branch really close, and they got these dots all along the branches where all the buds emerge, and we see a green swelling bud. Not when it's extended and it's becoming a leaf, but right when it's starting to swell in the spring. That is the perfect window of time to repot them. And that's when we do it. So if you live in South Florida and your trees come out in January, February, or if you're up in Maine and your trees come out in late April, you have to go off of that. Don't just repot them in the spring just because you think that's the time to do it. Go off of where your buds start to swell on your bald cypress. We're not going to be doing a Bonsai 101 video. Today we're going to be just talking strictly about creation and design. And we sell a lot of bald cypresses. I mean, it is kind of like our thing. If you guys haven't noticed, a lot of our videos recently have just been exclusively bald cypress content. And that's for good reason, because it is our state tree. It is a tree that grows really well in its native environment here. We have the Taxodium deciduum and the Taxodium ascendens. The disputed 2 different species discussion that has been a hot topic as of late. This guy is the Taxodium deciduum. So this is bald cypress. This is just regular, good old, just feathery leaf bald cypress. So we can see from the fall color here, that the fronds are opened up and the spacing on this is pretty even. This on the left here, this is the fall color on bald cypress. This is that classic rusty red brown color that everybody talks about. And from a distance, when you have a bald cypress in full fall, which we'll show you guys a few of those, we're gonna have like a little fun walkthrough of fall color in just a moment on this video later on. And we'll show you guys what that looks like, and they're beautiful in this fall color. Whereas this brown, this is what it is right whenever it's just done. The leaf is spent, there's no longer anything in here that's photosynthetic and that is receptive of collecting sunlight. So we know that this tree is dormant just from the fact that the leaves are all dropped off of it. And that the leaves up here, when I just run my hands on them, I don't even have to really apply any pressure and they just kind of pop off. So this tree is done. And so we sell trees like this on our website, so you can go over to underhillbonsaistore.com. We have them listed for $150 normally. This is a great piece of material for $150. I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. We pull a good number of these out of our grow field, so we grow these on site. So this is just an example of a tree that we would collect here out of our field and then work the roots for you guys so that they're not all tangled up and nasty, and then they've been chopped to a certain point where they're gonna grow back branches at the bottom here, which we'll be able to use this in our future design. So I'm going to carve this tree today and wire it, and I'm going to create a really quick little nice design on this. I know this tree is screaming flat top, but we're gonna talk about other things that we could do instead of just going straight for a flat top bald cypress, coined by, of course, our very own Von Banting, the late Von Banting. And so we'll kind of have a little bit of fun with this tree here. So I'm gonna show you guys a couple of other trees in just a second here. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys these trees as well. These are also Taxodium distichum, so just the bald cypress. These are saplings that we got. These are right over a year old. And the reason why I'm showing you guys these is because there's more than one way to create bonsai with bald cypress. And because they grow so fast, we can actually take advantage of how flexible they are. Let's see. And we can create bonsai earlier with them. Now that sounds kind of weird because you're probably thinking like, we just had that tree a second ago. We're gonna make a bonsai out of that one, right? And the other one I'm about to show y'all. But if you do this earlier, then you can dictate every single thing about this tree early on in its life. So I like to take young bald cypresses like this, and this one's dormant too. The leaves are just kind of hanging out. So I'm not worried about stripping the leaves off of this too much, but I just had a second one in case we wanted to do something a little bit different. But let's start here. So if you're living in an area where bald cypresses are not super accessible to you and you can only get saplings, I would say your best case scenario is to pick up a sapling from somewhere and start with that instead of fighting the roots and, you know, having to carve and chop something early on. If you can get a little sapling like this, nice and healthy, which we do also sell these on our website. These are $35, which is a steal for good quality little young trees. Then you can take this tree now. All I did was, it took me 5 seconds to put this wire on there. And now, because of how flexible they are, I can really play around and just give the tree a little bit of something interesting. Just make it have some movement. I can make like a really dramatic tree where it's whoop, and it's got some really cool stuff going on. And I just want to make little bits of movement through the entire tree, just to give it something interesting. And I can go as far as to wiring out these little pieces and make like a little pseudo flat top, but this is something you can do early on, because when this tree starts to grow, in this little pot here, we can get a nice little 1-inch trunk, and then all these movements that I put in here will set, and then I can cut it back. And then instead of having a straight trunk, imagine this tree with a lot of nice little curves. And so I'm gonna hold on to this tree, and as we shoot more of these videos, I'll show you guys you can create something really interesting by just doing something very simple. It took me 5 seconds. Instead of the tedious process y'all are about to see me do, carving and wiring branches and setting things, you could also start here as well. All right, and so this is our other option here. So kind of what we're going for here is different ways to start a bald cypress bonsai. So if you buy one of the trees like we had here, I know I keep picking this one up, look at the character in this versus that. Obviously there's some huge differences here. So, but you can definitely make a great bonsai out of this, and obviously out of this too. You know, and even that small one where I just threw a little bit of wire on it. So let's talk about this one a little bit. So this tree was actually collected this beginning of this year, I think so, by me and Nate Murray. Nate Murray is a bald cypress collector as well. He collects out of Franklinton, Louisiana. Calls himself the Boot Bonsai on his social media accounts. So shout out to Nate. He's collected a lot of really good cypresses here at the nursery. We have quite a few of his trees. So this tree was collected, we went out and did a Yamadori excursion. So we will take people out to collect. I'm fully booked this year, so I know I might have some people reach out to me and say, well, I want to go collect bald cypresses. I usually keep that number very low. I take about 3 people a year out, and we go and we pull trees, and we're very, very specific about what we're going to pull out of the ground. I don't go out there and just start pulling dozens of cypress trees, because my mentality on bonsai is if you're going to pull a really nice tree, pull 1 or 2 trees that you're willing to spend the rest of your life creating. And that's kind of how we are with these trees now. You know, being a bonsai nursery, oh yeah. Also, notice the fall color is still in that yellowish kind of color. I wanted you guys to see that too. I'm just over here just stripping it off. I forgot to call attention to that, but this has a beautiful fall color as well. So yeah, any of the really nice trees that I have in my own collection are going to be collected. So this, when I say collected, I know I said collected from our grow field earlier. This was collected from an actual little swampy area in the Franklinton area. I'm going to be honest, this was collected basically out of a service ditch. So, you know, we don't go into areas where there's, you know, like a national park or something like Bogachita or Kasachi. We don't do stuff like that. That's, you know, those are protected trees, where instead we go into areas where, like a service ditch, like they clear those ditches every once in a while. They go in there and they cut all those trees down. But bald cypresses grow so fast here that when they come to this size and they're that nuisance size, and before they clear them, that's an opportunity for bonsai people like us to run out there and pull some trees with some more mature features. So this tree was pulled as a demonstration for the Yamadori excursion. Like I told you, I do have my books filled, but you can contact Nate Murray at the Boot Bonsai on his Instagram or other socials, and he does take people out as well. He might have his books open to go collect bald cypresses. But yeah, this was collected just as a demonstration piece to show what we're looking for when we collect bald cypresses out of the swamps. And so if we're going to have a bunch of cypresses to go collect, we want to pick the best Nabari, surface roots. That's this terminology for surface roots. We want to pick good taper, good quality taper, so it's nice and fat here and then it tapers down. And then this tree did something really nice for us, because I cut it. I even did a demonstration on where's an ideal point to cut this tree, because I'm going to carve this all the way out and I'm going to go straight into this. This grew at the very absolute, like this is a really good point for this to grow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and remove what I don't need, which is a lot of this lower stuff. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to carve this out to continue that line of taper, and then leave this intact and allow it to grow for another 2 to 3 years to further improve that taper and heal that wound. So let me go ahead and remove a few branches, just real quick for the sake of just getting it done, and give you guys a few pointers on bald cypress design while I'm doing it. So usually with these branches that grow really low, I don't really see anything of value on a tree like this when the taper starts. This is called the takagari. So we got the nabari, and then we have what's called the takagari. It's a section of the trunk where it comes up, and then you can see the visible trunk. If you go look at other really nice images of bonsai, you'll see that there's a bare section of the trunk where you can see the trunk, and then you see the first branch. And that is a very important part of the tree. So usually anything below that takagari area, I will remove. And it's just not necessary, unless I'm going for something like a mother-daughter design where there's a smaller branch that looks like another tree. And this tree is so strong in the base, I don't think that is, you know, I don't think that's a good design for that tree, this tree necessarily. So we're not gonna do that. So I'm gonna remove all this stuff, like something like that, put a little bit of wire on it, make it mimic the trunk, but this trunk's so straight, it would just be straight and uninteresting, so we're gonna remove it. Another note is that whenever I remove these branches, I'm not going very deep. I'm using a concave cutter to take them off, but I'm not going in and digging the wood out like we would do on some other deciduous trees, because my thought process is that bald cypresses are ancient. They have a primordial look to them that other trees can't really pull off very easily. And that is from old branches that have fallen that didn't really heal really all that well. And instead they make these bumps. Like, you guys ever seen, I know everybody's familiar with this, the troll from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone with his big lumpy legs. So I always see that as like a troll's foot. So he's got these bumps all over it. And that has a reflection of old ancient bald cypress, because that's how their branches fall off in nature. So just like I had mentioned how there's this kind of like troll foot bumps all over the tree here, you can see closer here in detail, there's raised areas on all these cut marks. So I'm not gonna go through and scoop all the wood out like this tool is normally designed to be used for. So older bald cypresses, go look them up. It's actually hard to find images like that because people want to see really pretty bald cypress pictures. They don't normally show those big burled old trunks on, on source images. But down in the swamps, we have bald cypresses covered in these little wounds, and they had that much more of an impact of being old, especially in southeast Louisiana. So just like before, you notice there's a lot of things that I'm doing similarly, like just a good cleanup. This tree's been sitting in the back, so I take my wire brush like I did with that other tree in the winter defoliation video, and I'm just gonna go through and just kind of clean things up. These trees sit underneath sprayers in the back, overhead spray, so they'll get a little bit of mildew and algae on them. So I like to go through every year and kind of just give them a good cleaning. Nothing crazy, of course. I'm not trying to strip the bark down to the absolute like under layer of bark. And I know there's a big discussion of, do I keep going and then just make it that orangey pinky color? And I think that looks way too immature. I like to just get the crust and the crap off of here and then let the bark mature on its own, because there's still some chunks of bark in here that need some time to mature. So, but I like to clean it out and kind of see where my wounds are showing up on my roots as well, like I showed you guys on, I think it was video 103. And I've only got one problem root right here that can be solved by simple repotting, so I'm just going to leave it intact for now. And then before I do my carving, something else I'm looking for up here, as I scrub, I can kind of see where it's alive and where it's not. So let me get one of my favorite tools. So yeah, like I've said in the past, this is one of my favorite tools. This is just a mechanic pick. Like I told you, you can go pick these up from wherever, like hardware store, automotive store. I did just kind of peel back this on accident here, but it's no big deal because it's a cypress tree. As long as I don't peel it all the way down. But this is what I'm looking for. I'm seeing how much of this top is still alive. And bald cypresses are so resilient, even though we cut it flat here, which is really important, cut it flat because of the way I'm gonna carve it, and you'll see that in a second. But in here, it looks like the majority of it just kind of held on. So I'm peeling down this kind of area where it's died back very slightly. I mean, we've got like 1/4 of an inch dieback right here. So this is all intact, so I know all this is alive right here. All the way down to here, I'm gonna show this branch. So when I carve this, I'll probably keep this branch. It's a little on the bigger side, but it's gonna give me a good place to kind of create that tapering, come down straight into here. So far so good. So I don't have to like worry about if I carve this, there's actually a dead section somewhere here, and I carve it, and then we create a bigger problem. This tells me that there's live wood and it will heal very well. So we'll go ahead and get started on that carving in just a second here. Okay, so we're out in the display area because I don't want to do this carving inside the shop. That's kind of made a huge mess in the past. So we're gonna start doing this stuff out here with the space that I've got. So just gonna say a few things before we get started. I know this is the part that everybody gets really gung-ho about, they get excited about, because they're like, power tools, hell yeah, let's see Evan actually go through and do all this stuff, but I have to make a lot of disclaimers here. One, just because you saw me do this on a video doesn't mean go to the store and go pick up one of these tools and start ripping wood on a tree, because this is a very dangerous part of it. So take off watches, dangly stuff that you might be wearing. You know, if you have a loose shirt on, this shirt's a little tight on me. I've got some dad weight going on now. But just anything loose on you, because I'm gonna be using a chainsaw wheel on this Bosque die grinder. So, and there's a lot of people who wanna be extra hardcore and go with no guard right here. Guy Guidry has a horror story where he didn't have a guard on here and the tip of his finger got blown off by the blade. So guards, safety glasses, no loose jewelry, clothing, nothing, because this could be a real big deal here. I know a lot of people want to be hardcore, not wear safety protection on their proper PPE, their eye protection. This is just another tool. It's a Merlin tool. But yeah, just really quick about the glasses. I know it looks dorky, but wear them, because we're in a visual art. If you blow your eyes out, then you can't see your art. Just gonna say that. This is a Merlin. This is a Merlin 2. This is a specialty wood carving tool. This is like a magazine order wood carving enthusiast tool here. I'm gonna say that this tool is both necessary and unnecessary in bonsai. It's a good detail carving tool, but it's got the same little chainsaw head on here, but you can see the difference here. I mean, that's like a 2-inch wheel, and this is like not even like 1.25 inches. Way less power, more like for finishing stuff, where this is gonna be our workhorse here. So before I get too crazy with this, I wanna draw a line on this tree with this permanent marker where I want my taper to be. So cleaning off the trunk, I've got a little bit of better way to draw here. So I usually wanna taper down pretty deep. And so where my taper starts to end, which is roughly in here, I wanna pick up that taper into that line. So we're gonna go there. I might end up losing this branch. I'm not sure how far I might need to bring that, but we're gonna see. We're definitely gonna lose this branch in the taper because it's right in that zone. So let's see. And it might even need to go a little bit steeper like that. So I think I'm gonna lose this branch potentially. Now keep in mind when you're carving and you're losing branches, people see it as like losing real estate in their bonsai, and they're like, well, I grew that branch. Well, it's a bald cypress, we're gonna grow it right back because they're pretty prolific growers. So, unless I can get this branch to kind of stay down, there we go. And it might pop back up, but they're also pretty flexible where if something's in my way, I would probably wire this, but I don't like wire being in my way of carving. So let's see if I can get that to kind of stay. I have a feeling I'm gonna end up cutting it off anyway, so you know what, we just regrow it. I'd rather have nothing impede me from carving here, so. Okay, so the goal here is to carve it nice and convex, not concave, so that when it heals, it will heal naturally into this up here. So just do a few more precautionary things, get branches out of my way. Everything that could cause an issue with this carving, or cut out all the bad things that could happen here. Okay, so I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna carve this. So I got my back roughly the shape I want it to, but I still need to come in the front here. So that's something I'm actually gonna switch over to the smaller tool so I don't mess this up too badly here. as far as going too far too fast, because as you guys can see, that tool takes off a lot of wood in a very short period of time. So when I get here, I like to slow things down because I want from your front viewpoint here. So this is kind of where the front of the tree was originally. Let me just look really quick. Yeah, I might even need to come off this a little bit here. So you can see if my big head's not in the picture, that it comes up and then a taper keeps going into here. And this is not gonna always be this small. We're gonna grow this out. We've actually got a tree over there, I'll show y'all before we go back in, that was carved the same exact way this was. So let me switch tools and finish up the top. So that was pretty quick go over here. I feel like I got it. Now this is gonna be to each their own. I know if, I've been working with Guy Guidry on doing these carvings and stuff, and he'll come by and he's my greatest critique on this. He would probably come over and be like, you didn't go sloped enough. So, but I feel like this is pretty good. I've carved quite a few of these bald cypresses like this. Like I said, we're gonna go through and kind of look at other ones that we've carved real quick. Just so you guys can kind of see what the healing process looks like on this. I know it looks pretty dramatic right now, because it is. I mean, that wound is, you know, that's 4 inches across just about right there. But this is bald cypress. It was collected from the swamp. It's still a reasonably young tree. We left the top intact. And so this is gonna be allowed to run. And we're gonna be looking to get this part here, like twice the thickness, and by the time that happens, then we'll have a nice cambium roll, like scar will build up here. And what I do need to go in, and I'll do in just a second here, I just almost forgot, is I need to cut a channel. And if you guys go back to my earlier bald cypress videos where I've been doing carving like this, I cut like a ditch or a channel down alongside of these carves, because the big thick part of the wound, the scar tissue, gets really thick on bald cypresses. And so if I left this lip on here, it would be slightly inverse, and so it would give it an opportunity to do that big fat roll will fall into that channel, and then the rest of it will heal flat. But yeah, I've got a couple of other branches on here. Like I said, I cut branches off here, but I mean, once these guys are hurt on these parts, I mean, it is hurt, I carved it, it's gonna give me branches all up in here, and then I'll be able to rebuild this, drop a branch down in here to hide the scar while it heals. And I can even do some grafting. I can graft a branch onto the scar tissue and further hide that. But yeah, for now, this is looking pretty good. So let me go grab my, my Bonsai nibbler tool and finish up the channel here, and then we'll be good with that. All right, and this is, like I had mentioned before, this is Bonsai nibbler. So this is on a die grinder, but this spins and it has cups on it, and they're sharp. So same thing, same deal, pretty dangerous. It's not gonna scalp me like this one would, but this one cuts. This one's good for making holes. There's another bonsai YouTuber out there. I'm just gonna shout him out because he's got really cool content too. Graham Potter, he's been around for a long time, but he uses these a lot. So this is good for making hollows, but here I'm just gonna do a detail carve. And I know, before y'all give me too hard of a time on this in the comments, that if I cut the other direction, then the fuzzy stuff will come off, but I can do that later, so, you know, it's gonna be okay. But the whole point of here is just to go in and give me a channel around this whole thing. And honestly, I'm just gonna go in with my scissors and kind of clean this up a little bit. But as long as this is nice and clean, then I don't have to worry about putting any cut paste on here. I know we talked about the hot take of every bonsai needs cut paste on it. Bald cypresses, as long as this is nice and clean, and even when this dries out, put lime sulfur on it and it'll be just fine. So, done with my carve. So I'm just throwing wire on the branches that are here, because just like the little one that I had out here earlier, that branch is too low, and so is that one. Just like the other one I had earlier, that little sapling that I started off in the beginning of the video, just, you know, these branches are still young, they're very flexible. So I'm going in while the tree's healing, and I'm gonna throw on some wire and take advantage of the new growth. It's very easy to do. This is something I always do after a carving session like that, because this is going to be the most open that this tree will be, and then it will start to recover, and then I'll have all kinds of stuff on here. Like I'll have branches recovering all over the place on this thing. So, and I think my top, I don't want to throw a piece of wire on the top of this, on this section, on the leader is what people are calling it, but it's actually sacrifice branch up here, because I'm probably going to end up going into this. So I'll put some wire on this, but I don't want to put too much wire on this section because I want this to swell significantly. I don't want wire marks on this. And that, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I think I might even went through all this trouble of wiring this piece, but it's probably just going to come off anyway. It's so long. Just going to keep it like that. And so I'm just going to wire these branches out and just kind of give them a little bit of something. You know, just to make the look, you know, because I might use these branches in the design, I might not, I don't know. Depends on how the tree heals. Let's just put it this way. I've carved a lot of bald cypresses, so I know that whole deal that I did just now looked like quick and easy, but it's not. Like I said, use great precaution whenever you're carving with power tools. Don't just run in there and start going crazy. Make sure you have all the right safety precautions before you start going crazy with power tools that could potentially maim you. But right here, I'm just gonna, because I know I'm probably gonna take this off. Like I said, wired it for nothing because it's just too big. I don't need that right there, because the rest of my branches are just gonna kind of be smaller, and they're just gonna supplement what's gonna happen eventually here at the top. And then right here, I'm gonna go in, and this is probably gonna be my next segment. So this all is sacrifice, and then this little guy right here, once this gets the thickness I need it, this is probably gonna be the next part, and I'll cut this off, and then I'll go into this guy. That's what I'm thinking. Or, because this is a bald cypress and there's 1,000 buds that could pop up on it, also didn't need that much wire up there, or there might be a better opportunity in the future. So, you know, imagine this isn't here, but this is the top of the tree. So since my movement, I want to go against the movement a little bit and try to go up as far as I can, so it kind of goes smooth transition. And even that gap's a little too great for me, but I'm imagining this being a little bit bigger, so this might be perfect. I don't know. Like I said, it's bald cypress, it's deciduous, I can always regrow branches, so let's get rid of some competition up here and really just like put all the energy in the top of this and just let it kick ass this year. I haven't even seen what it looks like up close because too far away, because I wasn't too worried about the way it looks. I can already see it. Yep. So this is that tree I was mentioning to y'all earlier that I did a very similar carve on, like that one over there. So here's the top. We're just letting it go crazy. We're not even halfway to the size I want up here, so this is gonna be left on for probably another year. But right here is that carve. Y'all can see right there, see that scar tissue starting to roll? That's what we're looking for. So next year, when that guy over there that I just carved, it starts rolling like that, that's what we're gonna be looking for to heal that wound. So let me turn it around a little bit more. You can see all the way in here. So all the way down to my finger down here. So this is another cypress tree that had the same thing done with the same carve, and this one is, I think about 3 years? Bad with it. This one has cut paste on it, but that started all the way back here. See, this is the thickness of the scar tissue here. So it was all the way down here, all the way up here, and then there's the new top. See the new top that it grew into, how thick that is? And we got plenty of branches up in here to kind of fill that space in. And so when you zoom out and you see the bigger picture, you don't really see that anymore. In fact, I think I wired this tree for one of our earlier videos, but look at that fall color too. That's coming along really nice. A little skimpy on the top here, but bald cypresses are really strong on the top, so we'll recover that. Trying my best to save that little guy. So yeah, that was fun, quick, easy. So if you guys get one of these little simple trees, I know what I just did there was pretty dramatic looking to some, because I went pretty far on this guy, but I went way further with this one, because this tree is so young. This is like a 4-year-old, I think? Question mark? I don't know. I'm always kind of guessing on bald cypress as far as their age, because they grow so fast here. Look at that poor wiring job. Call me out in the comments as much as y'all want. But yeah, just with a tree like this, if I'm going for a flat top style, then I usually just go really, really sharp taper, because we're making a far away tree, like doing a Dr. Evil thing all the time. But yeah, if I'm going to do a flat top, instead of going down, because older trees have branches that grow downwards, flat tops are usually trying to survive. So just to throw some movement onto these branches, you know, we usually come up and out on flat tops, and this might be my secondary. Like I said, I don't know. There might be another branch that grows in here that's better. And of course, I'm gonna let this guy rip for a couple of years and see what I can do there. And just like before, I'm gonna remove some competition. Because I don't want these branches up here competing with the lower branches that are going to try to recover and become my new part of my tree. And then I'm going to put a little tiny piece of wire on this guy. You know, in a flat top, I'm more than likely not going to keep this branch, but just for the sake of continuity here, we're just going to throw something on here. Well, so that's a quick rundown about how I take raw trees like this and start to just do some early styling. And this is like not even styling. So just a quick kind of explanation of what I mean by that. Design and styling is a completely different thing. Development and styling a tree are not the same thing. So, but then I use, like, it's contradictory because I say styles of certain trees too, which confuses it even more. So flat top bald cypress is a style of North American bonsai. So this is not really a flat top bald cypress yet, but there's a lot of other examples that you guys can see in our other videos where I've carved them. But this would be a very simple, straightforward version of that. Not so many branches below, most of the branches up top. Whereas I'm going a little bit more of a classical style for this tree, where the branches are down here and the taper is more important to the tree overall, and the nabari and the takagari is very important. But this is pre-bonsai. So this is where we get to the point where confusion of what's a bonsai and what's a pre-bonsai. We're in pre-bonsai stage with these two trees right now. Not until they grow out and these wounds heal, we get proper taper and we start building branches that are good, will it become an actual bonsai piece of material. We start designing a tree and we start styling a tree. So kind of think about it as a way as like development is growing branches, making carves, growing for taper, setting branches, and then when you get to refinement, when you start making the smaller branches and you start building the silhouette of the tree, that is actually styling the tree. So we're a little ways out. So this is kind of like a reset. So I did some videos like 5 years ago where we did trees and I carved them, and we've shown you guys some of those trees now. Here's a fresh new beginning, at least to kind of show you guys like how I used to carve and now how we're doing it now. So there's a huge difference here. So expect to see these trees, and I'm going to say, just to give you guys perspective, this is like a 2-year tree. So a two-year project tree, whereas this is more like a 5-year project tree. So this will take 5 years from where it is right now to look like something like you guys see around here. Whereas this guy will probably take about 2 years, and then I can get what I'm looking for out of it. So, but yeah, that was quick, fun. And I do this all day, so I was well film one of them or 2 of them. But thank you guys so much for watching, and can't wait to develop more bald cypresses with y'all, and check y'all out in the next one. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and leave comments. Leave comments. I love answering questions. Go over and listen to my podcast show, Little Things for Bonsai People. By the time this video comes out, episode 100 will probably have dropped, and we're going to continue on with the next year of episodes. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.